That's just the way it is.
Hello everyone, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me and your host of How I Came Up. This season, Jamil Cruz is going to kick us off. Jamil is an award-winning community activist and leader, a marketer, and is just the perfect person to kick off this season. Now let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.
I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, born here, raised in Washington, D.C. That's where my mom is from. Spent about 10 years in Washington, D.C. before moving back to Buffalo. But Buffalo, for the most part, has been home. I've been here for the majority of my life, and I'm a Buffalo kid through and through. Early memories of D.C., they were great memories. You know, we lived in a house. It was a whole bunch of us that lived in the house together. I think it was about 9 of us. It was my mom, both of my brothers, my grandmother, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin, my aunt's girlfriend. It was a whole bunch of people that we all lived in this one house in Northeast DC. You know, we dealt with some unfortunate tragedies. First with my uncle being killed in a drive-by shooting. And then from that point, 3 months later to the day, on Thanksgiving Day, my grandmother died of a heart attack. And that forced us to, we actually got kicked out of the house. There was a fight over who was going to get the home between my mom and her sisters. And my mother, my 2 brothers and I, we ended up moving into a homeless shelter. So we were there for about a year, and then we transitioned from that point to Southeast DC, which was at that point in the late 80s, during the height of the crack epidemic. It was some crazy times, as if you can imagine. So we were there for a while, and it was just a bit too crazy for us. So my mother wanted us to get away from that. And you know, my father and his entire side of the family lived here in Buffalo, New York. So she moved us up here to Buffalo just to kind of be closer to that family, so we can get, you know, that help and that support and that family structure that we were that she was looking for at the time. And it was tough, you know, coming to Buffalo. It was like, you know, the language barrier, because, you know, down in DC we're a little bit country down there, you know. So but coming to Buffalo, you know, just dealing with the language barriers and such, and also too just trying to fit in, you know, because DC at the time down there, it was Chocolate City. You know, all we're used to seeing is black people, right? So coming up to Buffalo and experiencing racism for the first time, just so many different things. It was a bit of a culture shock, but you know, we adjusted, and you know, we ended up, you know, like I said, just settling here. And again, we went through some things. You know, both my parents were addicts. My mom was an alcoholic. My father was a drug addict. And unbeknownst to us, when we came back to Buffalo, my father was still using, you know. So that put a strain on the relationship between him and I, and then with that family and such. You know, we're good to this day, but it took a while for us to get to this point, you know, which I'm grateful to God for. But yeah, so nonetheless, it was certainly a big transition coming to Buffalo. But you know, we wouldn't change anything for the world, because this is home now. I went to high school at Bennett High School. Shout out to Bennett, the best high school in the city of Buffalo. Bennett High School. Went there, graduated from Bennett High School at the top of my class. I was actually ranked number 3 in my class when I graduated. Ended up getting a scholarship to go to the University of Buffalo. Went there. Didn't do the traditional 4 years. I was a super senior, you know, went through some things while I was in school, but you know, I finished, so that's what was really important. So I ended up finishing, getting my bachelor's from the University of Buffalo. So I majored in African American Studies. I went through a couple of different majors while I was there, but I settled on African American Studies because I wanted to be a teacher. And I wanted to teach back in urban schools in the inner city. So I stuck with African American Studies. So I've always wanted to be in the media space. That's always been like my thing. So my first job out of college was actually at a local radio station here in Buffalo. I was a marketing consultant, and I worked in marketing and promotions as well for this. It's a very big radio station here in Buffalo, New York. And I was there for a little bit. Didn't particularly care for the corporate side of the business. So and then I wanted to move to New York City because that was like where I thought everything was going to be happening and where I needed to be. So I actually went down there for a little bit. Things didn't work out. Came back to Buffalo, always with the intention of going back to New York City. But when I came back to Buffalo, that's when I ended up kind of landing into this government space, man, because I was just doing some volunteer work. I had a couple of jobs in between, but ended up doing some volunteer work for the mayor at the time, and folks just loved the work that I was doing. So, I got offered a job, and then, word traveled that, I was doing, that here's this young black guy, he's super talented, there was almost like a bidding war that was going on at the time when I first got into government. And then I absolutely love the work that I was doing in government, and the change and the impact that we were able to make in city government. But again, it wasn't my first love. It wasn't my first passion. My passion has always been with media. So I wanted to start my own thing, and I always wanted to work for myself. So, I created, my company, Cruise Control Media, and we went through a couple of different iterations of the name. It certainly wasn't Cruise Control Media when we first started. I think I probably went through about 4 or 5 name changes, but we settled on Cruise Control Media, and again, it just stuck. And, I started out just doing some freelancing for people, just doing like some basic web design, things like that. And then I just got better at that and just started doing that a lot. And then on the production side of things, I just started doing some basic freelance stuff. I had an interest in it, and I'm like, let me see if I could do this for other folks. And, I did it, they liked the work, and, things just got better. And I ended up kind of packaging all of that stuff together and creating a company out of it. My 9 to 5, I serve as a digital communications manager for Say Yes Buffalo. It's almost, I would say, it's my dream job. I absolutely love the work that I do, being able to tell the story of students and families, and really helping to reshape how education is looked at here in the city of Buffalo, and providing opportunities for young people. Those same opportunities that I wish that Say Yes was around when I was coming up. But the fact that we do have something like this now, and being a part of being able to shape that narrative and to tell those stories it's been so monumental in my life. We're all about storytelling, narrative change, and really how do we, control our own narrative as people of color. So I absolutely love the work that I do with Cruise Control Media and the podcast network, but I'm also super active in the community as well. I've been a very active part of the Buffalo Urban League and the National Urban League. I'm one of the founding members of the Buffalo Urban League Young Professionals chapter here in Buffalo. I served in many capacities, including as the president of the chapter. Went on to serve as the Eastern Region Vice President, which I'm now in my 2nd term with the National Urban League Young Professionals. I sit on the board for the Buffalo Urban League as well. I'm also on the board chair for the William MC YMCA, proud member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. So I'm super active in the community. And again, this goes back to what I was talking about earlier about lifting as we climb. So we want to make sure that we're providing those opportunities, the same opportunities that were afforded to me, for me to be in the space that I'm in right now. We're providing those to other people.
He's the founder and executive producer of the Changemakers 30 Under 30 Awards, which began over 10 years ago in an effort to keep creatives local.
A lot of people oftentimes, they take their talents, they kind of come through Buffalo and they kind of take their talents elsewhere. And we want to keep the talent here. We want to keep people here.
So this is another baby of mine. I love being able to recognize people that look like us, for just the work that they are doing in the community and in their businesses and such. So I started the Changemakers 30 Under 30 Awards back in 2011, And at the time, this was when I was first getting into government, in the government space, and I was a part of a lot of different events, going to these different recognition events where I see a lot of, more seasoned people being honored for things. And I'm just like, you know what? There's people like my age just doing some incredible things. Like, where's the platform for them to be recognized? And nothing was around. So I took the idea to a couple people, and they tried to little bro me. It was like, yeah, your time gonna come. And I'm like, it's not for me. I'm trying to put the community on right now. Because I'm telling y'all, there's some incredible people out here that y'all just don't know about. So and I'm connected to these folks. So after I got shunned a couple of times. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do this thing on my own, right? So. And I didn't know how I was going to do it or anything. I literally planned that first event in like a month, So we had it at the Second Cup Cafe. It was about maybe 75 to 100 people there, and that first one. But it was good though, Shout out to my brother Phil Davis, who was in that inaugural class of the Changemakers 30 Under 30. And each year we just saw this thing getting bigger and bigger and just changing every single year. So now, so much so that now we are the largest award show in this region that recognizes young professionals under the age of 30. There are other 30 under 30s that, they kind of swagger jacked a little bit, but it's all, listen, nobody can do it. Nobody can have that same flavor the way we have it. Ours is like a real production. These award shows that you see on television, that's the energy that we try to bring to the Changemakers 30 Under 30 Awards. To date, we've recognized almost 300 individuals. Let me say this too about Changemakers, because there's this misperception out there that people think that I'm out here choosing my friends and I'm out here just choosing, just people. I don't know most of the people. I've never come. There's an open nomination process. We put it out to the public. It's all over the social media and such. And people have the opportunity to either nominate themselves or nominate somebody else. So I want to kill that, that misperception that Jamil's out here just choosing all of his homeboys and his homegirls every year, because that's not the case. But we're super excited that we've been able to really grow this thing. Now again, we started at at a coffee shop, and now we're at Shay's. And we've recognized some amazing individuals, both nationally and internationally, high-profile people outside of Buffalo. We've had so many different. We had Grammy Award winners. We have NFL players. We've had so many different individuals. People working with Beyonce right now. Got actually quite a few people working with Beyonce who's been past honorees. I'm just grateful that we have a platform that's ours, that we can provide this platform just to highlight the great work that people of color are doing in this region. Yeah, I absolutely think there's a tremendous value in having mentors in your life. I wouldn't be the man that I am today if I didn't have mentors in my life. And even still to this day, I have mentors, and I think it's safe to say that I've experienced some levels of success in my life, but I credit that to obviously it's hard work, dedication, all that stuff. But if it wasn't the right people that was in my life who were giving me the guidance, I don't think I would be here. And that goes back to when I was in high school. In the Upward Bound program, we had the director of the Upward Bound program. His name was Dwayne Hodges. He took me under his wing. He saw the things that I was going through as a young teenage black male growing up in the hood, and he just took me under his wing and kind of showed me a different way, and almost became a father figure to me. And to this day, 25 plus years later, he and I still have a very, very tight bond. As a matter of fact, the fraternity that I mentioned that I have the pleasure to be a part of, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, it was because of him that I became a Sigma, because he was a Sigma. He is a Sigma as well. So it's people like him, and even current day, I have folks like my guy Vince Clark. Vince is a former executive from the Buffalo Urban League, and he's been doing this thing in the higher education space for the last few years. And when he and I had an opportunity to connect when we were starting this Buffalo Urban League Young Professionals chapter, again, he was somebody who was just super knowledgeable as a black male, just sharp as a tack. And I just gravitated to him, and I'm, even to this day, it's things that when I'm like questioning about life, whether it's about career, whether it's about relationships, Vince is my guy. He's the guy that I go to. He's like my big brother, so he's only a couple years older than me, but he's like big bro, so Vince is like a mentor. I got another guy, older gentleman, his name is Roger Struther. When it comes to like getting your financial house in order, that's something I've always struggled with for a long period of time. As I mentioned, I came from humble beginnings. I didn't have anybody kind of showing me the way, so I made a lot of mistakes financially along the way. Then I meet somebody like Roger, who really taught me the importance of investing, the importance of financial literacy, and really having your financial house in order. So, and I'm not where I want to be, but I'm a lot better than where I was at one point. And I give a lot of credit to Roger to that. So I just see there's high value in having mentors in your life. I don't care what stage of your life that you're in. Having a mentor can be very beneficial at any stage.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. I heard you wanted to start your own business. Do you know what that's called? That's called being an entrepreneur. Yes, being an entrepreneur can be fun, and I'm going to be your guide, Mr. Hill, to help you learn more about entrepreneurship. Over these next couple of weeks, we're going to teach you how to make money. Don't you want to make money? I know you want to. So join us as we have some fun going down this journey and learning together how to become an entrepreneur.
We're really about to walk 902 miles just so other people can experience freedom, man. Like, that's just insane to me.
I feel like volunteerism is vitally important in everything, in every aspect of life that we take part in. I feel like that because of volunteerism, I've been able to experience a lot of the successes that I have been able to experience in my lifetime, especially in my professional career as well, because I gave of my time, I gave of my talent, my resources, and I did it without asking for anything in return. I just saw that I could provide value in some way, and I just wanted just to help whatever that I was trying to provide value with. So, and because of that, it was just like it's amazing how the universe works, because it's like when you give, the universe has a way of reciprocating what you give out sometimes, so and for me, I've been blessed, several times over, and I really think that's in direct correlation with the time and the value that I gave to many, to individuals, to businesses, to organizations, and I did it without asking for anything in return, so so if you feel like that you have something to give to the world, give it. Give it with the expectation, without getting anything in return. And in all likelihood, if you do it with a pure heart and pure intentions, then that's going to be returned to you in ways that you could have never imagined. I think from a very young age, I've always had God in me. I feel like I've always had a relationship with God. It's so amazing because at one point, I had to be about maybe 14 to 15 years old. I literally saw God in my dreams. Like I saw this image of God in my dreams, right? So, and because I've been through everything and I've always went back to God to kind of help me get out of it, in just my spiritual journey, He has a way of communicating to me and telling me, like, listen, I need you. I want you to be a reflection of me to other people, right? So, and in order for you to do that, you just have to be obedient. So when I tell you to do something, do it, right? And as hard as that is sometimes, because you know, sometimes like when your flesh fights against that sometimes, you know, I'm just like, you know what, God, you've always been, you know, faithful and humble to me. Like, say less, I got you. You know, so, and like, that's how I talk to God. I talk to God like you wasn't the homies, you know what I'm saying? But one of the things that God used to always tell me was just like, serve. You need to serve. I don't care how you do it, but you need to serve, you know? And it first clicked to me, you know, again, I always had that, you know, that, like you said, that spirit in me, even going back, you know, with my mom, before she had her challenges and such. My mom was a Black Panther, right? So, you know, she had that, she instilled that spirit of service in me, you know what I mean? So, but it didn't really click for real until I got to college. It was August of 2005 when Hurricane Katrina happened down in New Orleans. And I remember sitting in my dorm at the time, and I'm looking at Oprah and Anderson Cooper, and they were doing a special about Hurricane Katrina and about all the loss of life, and I'm just like, I got to do something about this. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I have to do something about this. And by the grace of God, you know, I was able to connect with some friends. We put together our alternative spring break. So while everybody else is in Florida and South Beach partying, we took a bus. We literally took a bus from Buffalo to New Orleans to go help out with the cleanup efforts down there. You know what I mean? So, and 30 hours on a bus, I would not recommend that to anybody, you know, but we did it. And honestly, that was probably the turning point in my life where I've realized that I'm going to dedicate my life to service. My wife, that's my rock, that's my best friend, that's my girl, that's my ride or die. You know, I love that girl sometimes more than I love myself, man. She's just such an amazing person. She has an amazing spirit, just such a sweet person. I mean, there's no one, I can't think of a single person ever in the history of us knowing one another who can say that they have an issue with her. You know, because that's just the type of the energy that she exudes. You know, she's just always about positive energy and such. So she inspires me. You know, just seeing how she's been able to successfully grow a business from scratch. I remember when she started her business, we literally started from our apartment. You know, I used to come home from work, and she used to have clients in the house, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm tired, you know. But I saw the growth, I saw the grind, you know, and she put in the work. And she put in that, you know, that personal development, that professional development. And honestly, even how I do business now, I pull a lot from her. You know, I pull a lot of my, the way I do things, the way I handle customer service and things like that. You know, there's nobody who does that better than her. You know, so she's just such a special person. She's such a special talent. And I'm just grateful to be doing this thing called life with her, man. Like, you know, we just bought our first home, you know, which I'm really excited about, first time homeowners. And, you know, we just trying to keep growing, you know, and at some point expand the family. And, but, you know, just us being able to kind of do this thing together and us being able to feed off of one another. Like, you know, she could probably tell you that she's probably learned some things from me, and I can certainly tell you that I've learned some things from her. And I think that's how a partnership is supposed to work. And I'm so grateful to be doing it with her. So what's next for me? Man, that's kind of like a loaded question. I've been really fortunate that I've been able to accomplish a lot, you know, over the last, better half of the last 10 years and such, through my volunteerism, through work in the community, through business and such. And now that I'm in this new decade of my life, I just turned 40 this year, and I said at the beginning of this year that my next 10 is not going to look like my last 10. right? So, you know, for me, going into this new decade, it's all about just new things. I started out with a house, you know, like I said, just really focusing on family, you know, expanding my family and such. That's going to be a priority for me. But also too, just continuing just to be a good steward in the community. You know, being able to provide opportunities and access and equal access to opportunities for people in the community and such. Because you know, when we talk about, like, you know, we can have the conversations all day about like what's fair, what's not, but you know, for me, the whole equity piece, you know, do we have equal access to resources that our community could buy into as well? You know, for me, that's important. That's a vital of vital importance to me. So I want to make sure that, you know, people that look like us have access to opportunities, so our communities can flourish as well. So so that's going to be my legacy play. Like, you know, whenever we talk about that legacy piece, you know, for me, legacy is all about, am I making the world better? Is the world better because of the impact that I was able to make? Whatever impact that looks like, whether it's small, big, or whatever, is the world a better place? Is my community, is my city, is my neighborhood a better place because of whatever little role that Jamil played? So that's my legacy piece, and I want to make sure that I can answer that affirmatively when my time expires. If people wanted to reach me, I'm all over social media. You can follow me on Instagram at Jamil Cruz, that's JamilCrews. Facebook, same thing. I'm at Jamil Cruz across all of my platforms on social media. My website is cruisecontrolmedia.com. That's CREWS controlmedia.com. I'm about to launch my personal website, JamilCrews.com, as well, so people can go there and kind of check out some of the great things I have going on, and some of the great things that I'm involved with here in the city of Buffalo, and even outside of the city of Buffalo as well.
Hello, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me. We are excited to announce Season 4 of How I Came Up will air this November. We have educators, entertainers, and entrepreneurs this season. We can't wait to share their stories. Now let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.